you use ChatGPT to summarize things for you, you are using AI wrong and it's actually making your results worse. Here is why. You ask ChatGPT to summarize something for you, you read the summary and you feel like you studied, but when exam hits, your mind goes completely blank. The simple answer, AI did all the thinking. What most students don't realize is that a huge part of learning involves a level of discomfort, and this discomfort is what researchers call desirable difficulty. So when you remove that friction, you remove the learning itself. Now, I'm not telling you to abandon using AI completely, because I use AI, you use AI. So the question is no longer should we use AI, but how should we use it? That is what today's video is about. I'm going to show you how to use AI as a learning engine that builds actual understanding using my 3-stage method called the key framework. But before we get into it, let me give you a little backstory as to why this video even exists. One thing I realized was quietly holding me back while studying is a lack of clarity. Anytime I sat down, I knew what topic to cover, but I would always end up drifting or procrastinating or finding some other tasks to do. Not because I was lazy, but because I had no real direction. So one day I was studying government, specifically constitutional development in Nigeria, and I honestly was just bored of it because I feel like I've covered most of the things that were inside that topic inside other topics. So it felt like a complete waste of a study session. Normally, I would have just asked Google Gemini to summarize it and call it a day. But this time, I decided to try something different. Instead, I told it to combine military role, political crisis in Nigeria, and constitutional development into a single chronological note. 3 topics covered in one single session. Now, that moment made me realize something. We are not using AI to the fullest potential as students. You use AI to write essays, you use AI to help you explain things, but there is so much more that you can use AI for. So I built the key framework around 3 main things that every single study session needs. K for keep winning the best, E for explain it back, and Y for yield the grade. This is adapted from the popular IPO framework, input, processing, output. For you to truly understand this, I want you to see studying like you're baking a cake. The raw ingredients needed to bake the cake, that's like flour, milk, eggs, that's your input. So your processing is when you mix the ingredients, you apply heat, do the actual work. Then your output is the finished cake that you present to your friends and your family members. So imagine now as a baker, you decide that, okay, mixing is too stressful, let me just present the raw ingredients on a plate. That wouldn't be a cake, it would just be a bunch of raw ingredients. So that is exactly what happens when you go into the exam hall and you don't do the processing stage. You end up going there and then you don't remember anything. So today we're going to be fixing all 3 stages. Let's start with K. This is slightly controversial, but I have to say it. You do not need to read everything. I know teachers always say, oh, you have to read everything on the syllabus. Most of us make the mistakes of trying to log as many hours as possible so that we seem very serious. Try to cover every page in the textbook, try to read every single topic on the syllabus. When in reality, studying smarter isn't about reading more. It's about figuring out what you need to read and leaving the rest. And this isn't about skipping topics because you don't think it to come out in an exam, please. That's not what I'm advising. It's about having a strategic filter so that every single study session counts. For example, now, if I'm preparing for a mathematics exam, one topic I will not be spending too much time on is basic algebra. Not because it's not important, not because it's too easy, but because I already know that I have answered so many questions on it, I've done so many tests and examinations on it, that I do not need to dedicate the same amount of time that I would to a topic like polynomials or differentiation. So those more complex topics that I don't really understand, those are the best. How do you find yours? Through a syllabus audit. Review every topic in your syllabus and group them into these 4 main categories. Understanding, high confidence, you know it and you can answer questions on it. Medium understanding, high confidence, you can answer questions on it but you don't fully understand it yet. High understanding, medium confidence, you understand it but you aren't ready to be tested on it. Low understanding, low confidence, you don't know it and you can't answer questions on it. Your priority goes to the last 2 categories, especially during examination season. Also, the first 2 will naturally resurface during the E and Y stages anyway, so there's no point in wasting time on it without a reason. This is exactly where AI can greatly remove decision fatigue. You can paste in your notes, PDFs, textbooks, slides, videos, whatever. Then just use this prompt that is derived from the master prompt list that I made. My textbook has a lot of extra information and stories that I do not think I need for my actual exam. Act as a filter and tell me what to ignore. Identify the parts of this text that are just filler or unnecessary background information. Tell me the top 3 questions an examiner would ask strictly based on this text or this chapter of your textbook. Give me a final to-do list of the only things that I should actually spend time memorizing from this section. The result is that you go into every single study session knowing exactly what you're doing and why. you are doing it. And that clarity alone cuts procrastination before it can even start. One or two that is really worth mentioning in this stage is Notebook LM. So Notebook LM is an AI tool built by Google. You basically just put in your sources, so that can be YouTube videos, websites, PDFs, notebook, whatever. So it creates this kind of notebook, and you can ask it questions, you can do a lot of things based on the sources that you've provided. And my own personal favorite feature is the podcast. You can create a 2-person podcast based on the sources that you provided, and you can specify like what you want them to talk about in the podcast. Then you can listen to the audio file anytime you want, maybe while you're on commute, while you're doing household chores, while you're multitasking, whatever you're doing. That way you can still get in input even while you're busy with other things. And it's really useful when you have low energy days and you just don't feel like reading a book. You can just listen to the podcast. So you know those real versus cake videos where they put a real object like a food, and then beside it is an extremely realistic looking cake, and then you have to guess which is which. What makes those videos so popular is the extreme resemblance of the cake to the real thing. But obviously we know that a cake can look like a pizza, but it can never be a pizza because of it has different processing and different ingredients. So in a way, the cake is an illusion, and that is exactly what most study sessions are. They look like learning, hours at the desk, notes filled, pages covered. It looks convincing, it looks like the real thing, but when you cut into it, it's hollow, because the ingredients were wrong and the processing never happened. In cognitive science, there's a bias known as the Dunning-Kruger effect, also known as the illusion of competence. It is when you overestimate your knowledge, but you lack the skills to realize or see it. So it's very possible that your study session might have felt productive, but feeling productive and actually being productive are two completely different things. This stage is how you close that gap. This is the longest stage, the hardest stage, and the stage that most students are afraid to go through because it's quite difficult. But I know we're gonna do it. Last week's study hall episode was basically this stage. It talked about how you can take those bulky, overwhelming subjects and turn them into actionable steps for your study session. So if you missed out on it, make sure to go watch that after this video. But if you did watch that video, make sure to comment down below the 3 main steps I talked about, so I'll know those who are tuning in every single week. So this week we are just adding AI on top of it. If there is only one thing that you take away from this video, let it be this: stop asking AI to simplify things for you. The moment that you turn AI into a teacher or just turn it into a simplifying tool, that is the moment that you start engaging in passive reading, which we do not want. So we are going to flip it. You explain to the AI instead. I am going to explain a concept to you like you've never heard of it. You are a insert subject expert. Listen carefully, then tell me exactly what I got wrong, what I left out, and what I could say more precisely. The reason why this works is because you cannot fake your way through teaching something. The moment that you hit a part you don't really understand, your whole explanation breaks down, and that breakdown is the signal. That is exactly where you should go back and study harder. Another way I really love to use AI for this processing stage is through a technique that I created called the narrative lexicon method. Instead of trying to memorize abstract concepts in isolation, I infuse the concepts into a story using AI and then fill in the gaps and also ask questions based on the story. Studies show that our brain remembers narratives better than definitions. So the story gives the terminology and concepts a context, hook, and of course a reason to exist in your memory. The exact prompts needed to generate a proper NLM drill is being kept inside the academic weapon toolkit I'm going to be dropping April 4 during the masterclass. But the whole principle of storytelling is very easy to understand. Start asking AI to turn complex topics into a story, then tell it to ask you questions based off the story. The full NLM prompt just makes it more precise and specific. All of this is very useful, but having to sit down and type out every single study session is a friction that most students don't want to experience, and I'm sure you don't want to go through that either. That is why my free AI study prompt starter kit exists. 5 foundational prompts ready to copy and use today, covering the core moves from this workflow. The link is in the description and ready for you to use. Download it, then join the SDL WhatsApp channel where the community lives, where updates drop first and where you get early access when the full master list launches. The master list is the complete version, 30 prompts across 6 categories, the full NLM engine with 5 dedicated prompts, and it is a part of the weapon toolkit, which includes implementation exercises, a study planner, voice notes, and printables. Everything built to actually move your grades and not just organize your notes. It drops at the April Masterclass, which is April 4, and the WhatsApp channel gets first access and discounts. Waitlist link is in the description. Okay, but the thing is that at the end of the day, you have to write your exam. As much as I love learning, I'm not going to pretend like understanding what you learn and just being able to enjoy the learning process is enough, because you still need to write the exam and you still need to get your dream grade. You see, most students get this last stage wrong. You treat output like it's the final result of all your studying and everything else that came before it. Output is not the reward of the process. It is an active part of the process itself. Though it is a short part, it is still very much part of the learning process. So let's go back to the cake that we're baking. Before you present it, before you cut it for friends and family or whoever ordered the cake, you have to make sure that it's ready. You need to confirm. So you check the texture, you taste it, you add frosting, you add all these other things to make sure that what you're about to present is what it's actually supposed to be. As the professional baker that you are, you won't just leave it to chance and hope that it tastes how you want it to taste when people take the first bite. That confirmation step is what most students skip entirely. Now, it may seem like a minor or insignificant action. It can have a lot of consequences in the long run. So the why stage is your confirmation step. It is where you test yourself. It is where you test yourself properly, repeatedly, and under real conditions before the exam does. And this is where AI changes everything. Paste your notes into AI and ask it to generate questions at the analysis, evaluation, and creation level. Not definitions, not recall. Answer them properly in writing and under a time limit if you can. Then paste your answers back into AI and ask it to mark them, where the thinking broke down, what you missed, and where your reasoning was weak. Most students never do this part because it means confronting the gaps honestly, but confronting them is exactly what closes them. And the process of watching your own thinking and understanding where it fails is called metacognition. It is awareness of how you learn, how much you know, and not just what you learn. It is one of the most researched predictors of academic performance and one of the core concepts I'm going to be covering in the Academic Weapon Masterclass taking place this April. So you don't want to miss it. Like I've said throughout this entire video, I promise you do not want to miss it, because everything I've been learning this past month is going to be leading up to it. So from here, you build a revision timetable that is based on output only. No reading, no new inputs, just testing. Use AI to generate fresh questions every single study session so that you aren't just pattern matching to questions that you've already seen before. The students who do this consistently walk into exams feeling ready, not hoping, but actually ready. Okay, so let's do a quick recap of what we learned today. Today we broke down the SDL key framework. K is for what? Keep only the best. Filter before you read so that every single session actually counts. E, explain it back. If you can't teach it, then you don't actually know it yet. Y, yield the grade. Stop reviewing and start testing. That confirms the cake is ready. So here are 3 assignments you should get done before the next video. First of all, pick one subject and just run the case stage using this prompt. See how different it feels to go into a study session with a clear map of what you are doing instead of just relying on motivation. Secondly, grab the free AI starter kit in the description. And third, comment which of these stages you tend to skip the most, K, E, or Y. Let me know, I'm genuinely curious. If you're new here, hi, I'm Shemi and this is Shemi's Digital Locker. Whether you're trying to become an academic weapon, build your self-confidence, learn high income skill, or just get your life together, we are giving you the right high value information, tools, and community that you need to unlock your dream life without breaking the bank. So if you're ready to stop aspiring and actually start achieving all your goals, then make sure to subscribe so that you do not miss out on next week's video, which is going to be on how you can remember what you study, like you remember lyrics of songs. It's going to be a very fun episode, so make sure to subscribe so that you don't miss out on that video, and also so that you don't miss out on the very high value masterclass that is coming at the end of the month. And if you haven't watched last week's episode yet, make sure to go check it out. It is the E stage. We talked about how you can handle more bulky and overwhelming subjects so that you can stop procrastinating. And don't forget your assignments. Class dismissed.